Now we're going to learn how to use array in Java. Now the array can be created by using following syntax. Now let's see how to do that. So consider I want to create an integer array. So I will create my array, right? I would say my array is the array object, the type of integer, the size is 3, right? So now what? I created an array object. So I would say my array is an array object. It's a type of integer. The size is actually 3. Now let's create one more type. So this is the normal way of creating the array object in Java. We have another way to do it. Let's see how to do that. Integer of, I'll say my array 1 equal to new integer of, so I'm going to specify the value here, right? Here I can hold what? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, right? Now I would say that my array 1 is the array object, type is integer, it is holding what? The 5 elements. So the elements you can actually see is 10 to 50, right? Now let's see another way to create an array. So integer, right, my array 2 equal to, so in this case I'm not going to do new int of array. I'm going to straight away say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Now if you see that my array 2 is an array object, type of integer again. So the size is actually 5, which means that it is holding 5 elements, right? So now the array is the object. Whatever type you specify, you can hold only that type of elements in your array. So because that's what we call array is a homogeneous data type. So when I say homogeneous, it can hold only the same type of data and not different kind of data. That's not possible, right? We created 3 different array objects with the 3 different ways that are available in Java. Now let's consider how to write a 2-dimensional array using Java, right? Very simple. So we have to follow the same kind of a syntax. Let's do that. So I'm going to say so this is the my array object. So I'm going to say the type of this array object actually integer. So this is going to be 2-dimensional in the sense I have to say 2-dimensional, right? Equal to new of integer 2-dimensional, right? The first one is going to be 3, second one is going to be 3. That means what? My 2-dimensional array is going to be 3 cross 3, right? Now let's actually understand how to fill the elements to this 2-dimensional array. So this is the 2-dimensional array, right? So I'm going to say my array 3, right, equal to 1. So which means that, so this is the 3 cross 3 array. So all the array starting position is actually 0. So we'll say the 0 is the starting index of an array. So 0, 0, I want to hold 1, right? Now let me actually push more value into it. I'm going to say 0, 1, the value is going to be 2. So now what you're trying to understand, right? So we have 3 cross 3 array, okay? So in order to make it simple, let me actually make it as 2 cross 2. You'll get an idea. And I say 2 cross 2, you have 2 rows and 2 columns, right? So how do you represent that? So let's consider you have 2 row and 2 column, right? So 1, 2. So you can see the array would be something like this. We have 2 row and we have 2 column, right? This is the 1 column, this is another column. So if you see this one, my array 3 0, 0 equal to 1. In the 0, 0th position we filled the value as 1. In the 0th, 1 position, that means the 0 represent the row. In the first row, in the second column, I want to push 3 as a value, right? now let's actually 3. So 1 comma 0, I'm going to push what? 3. My array 3, 1 comma 1, I'm going to push value as 4. So now you got better idea. So we have 2 row, we have 2 column. So for the first row, first 2 elements, I'm pushing value as 1. Then first row, second elements 2. Then second row, first element is 3. And second row, second element is actually 4. So likewise, you can actually push your value. Or else, this is the first way that we actually followed in the single dimension array, right? How we can do this for. Now let's consider how to push using this type, right? Now let's see that. So let's create integer of array equal to, I'm going to say my array equal to 4, right? So since actually it's a 2-dimensional array, we have to create one curly brace, we have to create another curly brace. You can see that this is the 2-dimensional array representation. First row, right? First row, second row, third row, right? In the first row, I'm going to hold 2 column. In the second row, I'm going to hold 2 column. In third row, I'm going to hold 2 column, right? So now I would say that there are 3 rows available, there are 2 columns available, right? So 3 rows, but we have only 2 columns available, right? Same can be represented using this way as well. So that's how we can actually use the arrays in Java. Let's learn more about the 2-dimensional array, right? Now consider we created single dimensional array. We followed 3 different ways in Java. So you can actually see that, right? Now let's create 2-dimensional array integer. I'm going to say my array 5 equal to, right? You created the array object, right? So I want to say this array object type is integer. So I want this array object to be 2-dimensional array object. Obviously you have to mention this. Then equal to new of integer. Then I'm going to say 2. I'm going to leave this as the empty. So what is the meaning of this, right? So I'm going to say the my array 5, it's an array object, the type is actually integer. This is the 2-dimensional array. So the row should be only 2, but column can be any number, right? When I say row should be only 2, column can be any number. So we are trying to achieve something like this. My array 5, 0 of 1, right? I'm going to say 1, right? My array 5, 0 of, it should be start from 0, sorry. So 1 equal to 2, right? My array 5, 0 of 2 equal to 3, right? So now what we did so far, so we actually took the first row. In the first row, I created 3 different column, right? So the first column hold 1, second column 2, and third column is 3, right? Let's consider the second row. So how many rows we have in this array? We have only 2 rows available, but how many column we have? We didn't mention any column size, right? Now my array dot 1 of 0 equal to 4. Now my array 5, 1 of 1 equal to 5, right? We have 2 row, right? 0 and 1. We have a 2 row, but how many column we have? We have 1, 2, 3 for in the first row, but in the second row we have only 2 columns are available, right? Consider you can have a row something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Right. So now I can say we have an array object. we have around 8 elements available in this array object. How many rows available? We have 2 rows available, but how many column available? We can't define that, right? Because the first row has 5 columns, the second row has only 3 columns. This type of array we used to call it as jagged array in Java. Now let's quickly understand what is a class array, right? So now you can see we create a different kind of array. One is a single dimensional, 2-dimensional array. I mean, you can obviously create a multi-dimensional array by adding one more, a square bracket. So accordingly you can set a value. So now quickly understand what is a class array in Java, right? How did I create an array? I create an array. I said array, right? I said this is an array object. So I have to specify the type in order to make this an array, right? This is an array object. Yes, this is an array object. So what is this? What is the type of this array? I'm going to say the type is array what? Integer, right? This can be character, this can be a boolean, this can be double, right? Anything, right? Like we have the primitive array, we can create the custom data type array. When I say custom, we can create the class array as well. How to do that? Now instead of saying it's an integer array, I'm going to say it's an example array. Now the example is a class. We have this class here. Now inside the example we have only one method available, right? We have main method is available, right? Now what I'm going to do that, I'm going to create new of array, example of array. I'm going to say the size is 2, right? Now I would say, hey, array is a variable. It's an array object that it's a one-dimensional array. The type of the array is example, so the size is actually 2. I already told you that that array is a homogeneous data type. So whatever type you specify, we can hold only that type of data, right? So if you see that previously we created an integer array, so we actually added all the integer value. But in this case we created the class array. Now what exactly we have to hold in the array element, right? So now let's consider how to array of 0th position. Every array will start from the 0. We all know that. In the 0th position, I want to hold one example object, right? Array of, in the first position, I'm going to hold one more example object. That means what? We have an array object. The type of an array object is an example. The size is actually 2. Currently, this array object actually holding 2 example object. If you want to access this example object, consider, let me create a dummy method in it. So I'm going to create one method called public void display. We'll talk about what is a method later. As of now, consider. So we just created one method which is going to print the value as actually hello, right? Very simple, right? So now if I want to access this object, and then inside this object I can call this method. Now how to do that, right? I can call it a array of 0. I know you are actually holding the example object. So by using this one, I can call display method. When you run this, here we go. We got hello. Likewise, you can access the array elements available based on the index, right? So in the array of the one index, we have one more object is available. Now I'm going to call display method. So when I call the display method, again now the output is going to be two different hello, 2 hello would be printed, right? Here we go. We got an output. Well, let me increase the size of this array, right? Now I can hold the 3 example object in this array, but we are holding only 2 example object. Now what happens if I try to call this one? Display, right? So obviously, so in the array of second position, we don't have object available. So by default, that is pointing null. So you are calling null dot display. Probably you'll end up with null pointer exception. So we'll talk about what is exception in later series. Don't worry. So as of now, you can see we got a null pointer exception, right? This type of array we used to call it as class array in Java.